Well, hello everybody, Vicky here. Take two of my editing of this video and take, I don't know, maybe five and a half attempts to get this voiceover done. This video is inspired by Rachel at Roxy's weekly challenge, and it is number 7. Yep, number 7, not 27, not 17. I think I'm a little bit behind, but you know. So, anyway, number 7 is a variation on what number 6 was, which is a folio with papers in it. So, thank you very much, Rachel. I appreciate the inspiration. I, at a couple of times, didn't really appreciate me because this went far and beyond what number 7 was. So I really appreciate, Rachel, that you've given me the inspiration to do this. I'm really, really pleased with how it's turned out. And I'm referring them as collage packs. So the reason why I left this long bit in at the front was so that I could say hello. And a lot of time has passed since I did this video. I don't know, 6, 7 weeks. I went to do the voiceover. Oh, so anyway, what we're doing at the moment is I'm just getting the papers collated, ready to put in the folio. And I thought that if I left a little bit of this in there, you'd get an idea for what papers are there. There's a mix, it's like a licorice, all sorts. There's original vintage papers, like those couple at the top there. There's a photocopy of a newspaper. There's a German comic strip. There's a map of some part of Germany. There's dressmaker patterns. There's a real variety of all different sorts of papers I've tried to include. And at the front of it, I've put some oven non-stick ecru coloured paper. And I thought that the whole point of this is to grab a little bit of craft for you to do when you're out the door and going to be away for a night or two, or you're on holidays. So that little piece of non-stick paper is so that you can glue on. Now, also included in this pack will be stamped fabric. Now, the majority of the fabric is a fairly tight weave calico, but I think there might be a little bit of linen in there. I'm not 100% sure on that. So each pack has got, I think, five stamped pieces. If it's not 5, it's 6. So we'll go with 5 so that I'm not robbing you or misleading you. So I'm just going through there. I used the stamping platform because I wasn't really sure how the stamps would go, and I've got different new ones. Well, new, but not new to me. I just haven't used them. So I got things out to use it, like we've been talking about. And then I've just been doing, I put the rub-ons on a piece of fabric. Now, some of them have got like an image like this one, and others have got, like, you can see that brown coffee coloured sheet to the right. That's rub-ons, and it's not a picture, but it's got all different elements in it that you can cut around and use. Now, this is one of this is about 4.5, I think, wide. It's the smaller of the two of them. It's the same height, and it has the same amount of papers in there. There's not a real lot of difference between the big and the little, except the width, I'd say. And I've put the pockets on there. That brown is actually a mulberry colour. And then on the front, I've used tracing paper, and I've made a double pocket on one side and a single pocket on the other side. And I'm just doing a little embellishment there. That's a little bit of the scrap that I trimmed off from the German comic that I thought was nice and colourful, just to pop down there to do a cluster. Now I'm getting all my sheets in place. Take no notice of the fold that's in the bottom of there. I eventually realised that I have to cut those off, that with the pockets and with how much is in the pockets, it just couldn't take the fold down. But there are, I'm pretty sure, over 20 So 19 to 21 sheets in each folio. So I don't think a little bit off the end will matter. So here we go. There I've got one. I've got them side by side. So the long one's I think about 8.5. We'll say 8, and the other one's 4, and it's over 4 inches. I think it's 5 something tall. They are in our shop, and it gives full description of how many, what, etc. is in there. So I'm just sort of fiddling around now saying, look, there's a pocket there, that's the single, and there's 2 pockets, and it's quite unruly. So there you can see that I've realised that I've had to cut those off. Why I didn't make the folio cover longer, I don't know. I just didn't. So here we are. We've got all 4 of the large done, and I'm going through now just putting all the bits and bobs in. Now I've decided to leave this in a very long video. I was going to cut it out so that it wasn't as long, but then I thought this is a really good way for you all to see exactly what is in there. Like I've got photos, of course, in the shop, and like I said, a word description. But I think just seeing on the video give you an idea. There are a lot of bits that have gone into this. Now, when I've photographed it for the shop, as you could imagine, like it took me an hour and a half to photograph one folio, taking all the ephemera out and laying it out. And there is a little differences between the packs, but the same amount of what's in one is in all 8. It'll be just, like I think there's a mermaid sticker, for example, in one, and a sticker of a bicycle in another, just to give you an example. They are different, but they are two equivalent, same size sort of thing. So I've really tried hard to achieve that, and I think I have. So the big packs have 6 tags that Graham cut out for me, bless his heart, on the laser, and they've done from manila folder. If anybody's wanting tags cut just to have blanks, just message us. You can message me on Facebook Messenger, or go via the web, and we will be able to sort something out for you, I'm sure. So we're getting the 6 in there now. From memory, it's 4 in the small, in the narrow ones. So here you go. This will tell us our fabric, our textiles. So we've got a piece of lace in each one. And so there's our lace. I'll see if I'm clever enough to be able to count and talk at the same time. So that's our rub-on, and you can see by the blue one and by this coffee-coloured one, they don't necessarily make a picture, but you can make one out of them. So there's our first image, and I've just fringed it. Is that our first or our second? I've lost count already. We'll say this is 2. Oh dear. I'm like almost hysterical trying to do a voiceover these days. I'm on tenterhooks. I just don't know whether or not this gobby pair out here in the lounge room are just going to watch their P's and Q's. I started off with Cody in here with me, giving him a pat next to my chair, but he's decided that he needs to go and lay down. Unfortunately, he's gone into the lounge room, so let's hope that they don't start. I'm not 100% sure on how to just pause the recording. So anyway, I'm now folding these up and trying to get them into the pocket. As you can imagine, I probably overdid it given the size that I have to put things in there, but eventually it does work, and I'm quite pleased. Now with the smaller ones, what I've done is at the very back of the papers, I've attached all the textiles which is exactly the same, well, not exactly the same, but the same as what's here. It is exactly the same with the exception of the rub-on. It will be different. But so because it was smaller, I didn't have both sides. What I did is just put it at the back. Now the thing I like about this little pack is it's all attached. All the paper is attached. So if you're away and you just want to have a little play, you've been out sightseeing for the day or whatever, you've gone off to craft group, and it's just a lovely little thing to do to just quiet the head, and well, it is for me anyway. Excuse me. So while you're using the kit, you can just rip the paper from the bottom or cut the paper from the bottom, however you want to do it, which means that when you finish for the day, you're going to have what you're collaging on. And if you use what I've put in there, everything will go back into the envelope for you. So you won't have bits and pieces of stuffs everywhere. I did say stuffs, yeah. So on that side there is I've got a little postcard that I stamped, and I think yep, there's the postcard. So I've stamped that, and I've put a stamp of a stamp on the postcard. I'm sorry, it doesn't take much to amuse me. And what I've done with the napkin or serviette, if you're Australian, we call them serviettes. I think the Brits do too. I've just laid it in across the papers. It's not going anywhere. It's held in quite well. Yeah, so as you're using the collage pack, you just rip from the bottom and everything's attached, and then you will see later on that we're going to be making, I've made an envelope. When I say we're going to, please feel free to use this to make one for yourself, or pop over and buy one because it's ready to go. It's just, yeah, and that's it. So I'm putting all them in there. I keep starting to say things and then I sort of like change tack, but I'm trying to keep up a little bit with what's going on the video. And I do apologise if you feel like it's a little bit choppy, like it's not flowing very well. There was actually about 15 or 16, or this is a big one, I don't know, many hours of edit of footage, as I've just basically put the camera on, and it becomes so big. And then, like I said, I'd edited this, had it down to about an hour 30. Then I went to do my voiceover. Then when I was listening to the voiceover, I said, walk on your work instead of work, or something anyway. I said walk on your work. And I taught myself how to write on the screen in my clip while it's all happening. And I was so pleased with myself. But I don't know if you saw my last recording, but every time I've tried to do talkovers, I go to sleep. Seriously, I just sit here and I go to sleep. Now, what I tell you now might help to understand that. And I'm a bit worried about talking about this now because the one I've just finished that's ready to go up, I explained there. But anyway, abbreviated, I have sleep apnea. So does Graham. And he is on a ventilator now. So you can see what I was going in. There's 3 cards going there. So his sleep apnea used to trigger when he was driving a car or a lawnmower, which, as you can imagine, was a bit horrendous. I tricked him into going to the doctor. After one of my back surgeries, I wasn't allowed to drive. So I said, I've got to go to the doctor. And, of course, he's such a lovely person. He just takes me to the doctor. He's just brilliant. But after the doctor saw me, I've gone, right, Graham's next, because I booked a double appointment and I didn't say anything to Graham about it. I said, right, we need to talk about Graham going to sleep all the time. Not knowing anything about sleep apnea, neither of us. He had a machine put on him to monitor him overnight, and he stopped breathing 56 times in one night. And then we understood why I was a light sleeper. I was a good sleeper back then, but I was very light. It's because I was constantly listening to his breathing. You know, like us mums, we've sort of like we're asleep, but we've just got that ear. We're just aware. And I used to just give him a shake to get him to breathe again. He'd gulp and sort of like get a bit of a fright, but he would start breathing again. So we got him fixed up with the CPAPs machine. Fast forward 10 years, he's now on a ventilator, so that it will breathe for him now. He's just a little bit worse, and like I have sleep apnea now as well. So every time I sit down to do a video, apparently my kryptonite is watching a video and putting me to sleep, even when I'm talking. So I was up to take number 3 or 4. I think it was 4 with this one. And I dozed off. But when I doze off, I still talk. So I'm listening to the playback, because I always do, just to make sure it's okay to go up. I try not to create rubbish for you girls. I do my best. So part of that is just checking what I've done. And I'm listening to it while I'm doing something else. And all of a sudden I start talking about something about Rod Stewart being here. And wouldn't it be nice if he could come back again tomorrow night? And I like just stopped, and I've gone, what on earth is that? And I had to rewind it and listen to it 3 times just to sink into my head that that's actually what happened. So it turned out that walking on the work wasn't the worst thing that you could possibly do. It was not having Rod Stewart back for another concert. I mean, I'm not even a fan of Rod Stewart. I mean, I like a couple of his songs, but, you know, let's not get too excited. So anyway, I deleted the recording, knowing that I would have to do it again. But then I thought, it's not going to work where I've written on the screen about don't walk on your work or whatever it was, because I wouldn't say that next time, would I? So you'd have this random text up on the screen that just made no sense at all. And I inadvertently deleted the whole lot. All my editing, every episode that I'd spliced together, because there was about 6 or 7 that I had to splice together to that's the beginning, just to get them all together. And I just sat there in total disbelief. And in the finish, I just laughed. I was just sitting there laughing. How could you be that daft, Vic? But the good news is that was in iMovie. The original episodes I'd put across into my expansion drive into storage on my computer. So when I do my videos, I put them across to the expansion file so that they're not taking up room in my files on the computer and then on my iPad, because you can get too much on there and it won't work properly. So it wasn't as if I lost everything. I just lost all the editing. So I had to go back into the desktop and and bring everything out of the expansion drive into my camera roll on the desktop to then import them back into the iMovies again. So it was all a bit traumatic, girls. I'm telling you now, it was very traumatic. And what can I do but laugh? I mean, seriously, you can't read about this stuff. I think I'm going to have a new motto, a new creed for this house. And it was spoken by my granddaughter. And I must go back in and get the direct quote, because I think I'm going to have it, like I said, as our motto, and I'll put it up on the website. And that is, she said, I don't want to directly quote her because I'll probably get it wrong. It's madness out there. It's just madness. Louis chasing the cat. It's, oh, it was so funny, but it was so right. It's absolutely mad. My friend Rhonda commented on one of my videos and said, "There's never a dull moment up there, Vic." And I've gone, "Yeah, no. There are lots of things you could say about us, but oh, there's Pippa. She's come to say hello. I left it in because she does make an effort to make a cameo, so it's only fair that I let her say hello. So here we are. So yes, Miss Amelia, I think, has figured out what our motto is going to be. I've made some little tiny envelopes and they're out of tracing paper. I find that if you want to use vellum and you don't have any, and I've got a fair bit of coloured vellum that I use, and there's actually 2 sheets of it in this pack, but the white one isn't a clear white. So I go to my tracing paper just because I don't really see a lot of vellum around and it's not that cheap. So I get a book of tracing paper from, the variety stores. We call them the $2 shops here. They stopped being $2 a couple of decades ago, but, it's like your Dollar Tree or the pound shop. So I get a book of tracing paper and it does go a long, long way. So I've made these little basic envelopes out of tracing paper. Now I've got Live, Love, Laugh. It's a die cut. Now what I've done is with my scraps, and particularly the coloured one there, that just strips of bright paper that I use as pages in one of my notebooks. And there's really not much you can do with it because they, as you can see, they're pretty loud out there. So me with my scraps and wanting to use scraps all the time, I guess that's as much my ethos and our motto is what Amelia said. That's what it'll be. There you are, I've deemed it. So I put all the stripes down, glue them on a piece of photocopy paper, usually, well, always copy paper that's being used but has one side clear. And even sometimes you can use it if both sides aren't clear. And then I put the words down and run it through the Big Shot or the Gemini or whatever machine you've got. And that way you're using up something that you just don't honestly think that you would ever use unless you went blind. But they do look quite nice in the notebooks just to break up the white. And also too, my little notebooks, people buy them. I've had people who buy them because they find the different textures and the different pages a little bit inspirational. And if you put coloured papers in, or if you put a little stamp on a page, it actually helps people just to start, because it's not a blank page, is it? There's something on it, or there's something a bit different about it. So when I cut the die cuts out with the words, it does look really good, and I personally like it a lot. And coming up in my shop, I will have some of those for sale. The ones that I've cut out of the scraps I've used for a different project. And yep, so Live, Love and Laugh are the words, and I will do it the same way as what I did those. So I'm still just going through sorting out bits and pieces. I probably could have and should have, on reflection, cut some of this out, but I didn't know a better way of you accurately seeing, because I don't want my word picture to be different to what you're actually getting. So just to make sure, so that you won't be disappointed because I misspoke, I thought that leaving all this in, and you can go, oh, right, okay, yep. So there's 4 large and there's 4 medium, and there's a few little differences. The only one I can think of at the time is, instead of having 6 blank tags, you've actually got 4. You've got the same amount of fabric in it, and I'm pretty sure that there isn't much less ephemera that's in it, So I think all in all, they're both pretty good value. And then I've just added a couple of paper clips in. They're gold paper clips because it's very handy just to have a paper clip. I always find I tend to look for a paper clip or whatever, and it's just handy that there's two there. They're not being used for anything, they're just there in case you need them when you're out. So as you can see, there's a lot of time, a lot of very enjoyable time for me. I the creating I love the best is when I know I'm creating for somebody else, and I don't know who the somebody else is for these 8 kits, but I know that they are going to go to somebody who wants them and who will get a lot of enjoyment out of them. So you can see as I'm going there, I'm emptying my little dishes. So now we're up to getting into the closures. So I've got a couple of, what do you call them? Reinforcement rings. I'm just going to put it there on these two because they'll take the worst of the, what's the word? I'm sorry, I've forgotten the word. I've just done it to strengthen them up, and I've used a hat elastic. Now, hat elastic is round. It's a round, and it's quite fine. And if you see shirring, no, that's shirring elastic. It's different again. So yeah, this is a round, and they call it hat elastic. I don't think it's much good for hats because it's so thin. It does actually cut in a little bit. Now I just pointed out that button. So there's a butterfly on that one. They've all just been sewn onto the folio itself with a little tack. It won't be difficult for you to get off to use it. And I don't know if I said it, but the thing that I love best about these, because I'm all for using up, wasting out the product, recycling. You've probably all figured that out by now. So it pleases me to be able to say there is, I honestly don't think that there is anything that you can't use. Everything that I've put into this pack, I believe that you could use. Like there's a magazine page in there that's quite sturdy. If you wanted to, you could fold that in half and you could put a couple of the pages or add a few of your own and make a little notebook out of it. You then can use the elastic just as a simple binding, just have it don't have it a sew on. So that elastic would go around and hold your signature in. So everything now I've tried to make sure has another use, including the folio itself. It's double-sided. It's a piece of wrapping paper. It's quite sturdy. And then I've glued a photocopy of an invoice onto it. I've sewn around the edges. You could cut down the edge of that or an inch in and use that stitching to make it look like you've stitched it yourself. Like I said, the buttons just tacked on with a simple stitch and not very hard. So anyway, so we've got our little collage pack. So now we want something to carry it in, because ideally we can just take this and off we go. So this is an envelope. Now what I'm doing there is I'm using washi tape just across that fold there. That's going to be a load bearing because the pack will sit in on that. So I just wanted to toughen it up. And then to toughen the top up, I've lined it as well. So what's on the outside is lining it inside. And I'm going to run out of time. So what I've done is it's just a very basic envelope. The closure is Velcro, and when you put the pack in like that, you will see there's actually enough room for a glue stick and a smaller pair of scissors to go in there. So if you add your glue and your scissors if you want to cut with the scissors, or a 6-inch ruler if you want to do all tearing, you can get everything in that little envelope wallet and off you go. So, like I said, it's a very basic envelope. And I think I'm just showing you this one from the 8, just a couple of the little highlights. So I'm going around this with my gold paste. I'm sorry, I can't think of what it's called at the moment. I did get it from Sue at Paper Inspirations. She probably would have some available if you pop over and have a look. And I'm just going around just cheering it up. Now, what these pages are is they're actually 12 by 12s that I didn't like. I didn't think I would ever use. So what I've taken to doing is all the papers that I don't like, and I had like a few hundred of them, or rather, probably more, that I bought from a couple of different local sites that were selling on Marketplace, I think, selling their what they've got, maybe they're not using it anymore. So anyway, I got all these 12 by 12s and I've gone, yeah, probably not best to be buying any more of these. And then I thought, well, why don't I just coffee dye them? So every time I do paper, I get a stack of these, and the stack is going down, and I put them through the bath because I do that with all the single-sided ones, is when I started doing it. And I'd have a 12 by 12 coffee dyed that I could use to back tags, or just have there to use, because what was I going to do? Otherwise, they would have either just sat there forever, or I would have thrown them out. And sometimes, like what's happened here, that green pattern looks really good. Now it's gone through the coffee dye, but I would never have used it before then. So yeah, just keep thinking about different ways. Imagine how you can what's the word I'm looking for? How you can change it, give it new life. Is what I'm saying. Just think about the things that you can do. And even if you don't want to coffee dye them, if you've got pages that are single sided that even if they're double sided, back your tags with them. Make your envelopes out of them. Make a notebook for a journal if it's in the right colour wise, or if it looks okay, and put it in one of your little pockets in your journal. I have so much stuff, and the ridiculous thing is, I think I get so much pleasure from using the scraps. So anyway, because of the size I needed, I've used 2 pieces of 12 by 12, and I think it's 1.5 sheets. And then along the top there on the fold, that's inked there, that's a row of zigzag. So I've sewn the 2 pieces together and then folded over the flap. I think I said that it's a Velcro. So I'm just going around now doing some basic decorating on it, and I'm putting some washi tape down. So this washi tape that I'm putting down, when you take it off the paper, there's a good chance it's going to take the top layer of paper off. But that doesn't matter. You can still use that little bit of washi tape, just use glue. Or cut the envelope in such a way that the washi tape's where you want it. The envelope is ready to be used. Once you've wasted down your kit and everything's gone, the clusters on the envelopes can be reused. The envelope can be used as an envelope for another little project if you want to have ready to go out with you, or when you're going away for a couple of days. I find it always good just to have like a little grab bag, I guess you'd call it, but it's like a little project, so that if I'm in a bit of a hurry, if I'm very disorganised, I can grab it on the way out and just put it in the pocket of my bag or whatever. But just be warned, just remember, make sure it goes into your luggage, not your hand luggage, otherwise you'll get it confiscated, or you have to go through the rigmarole of checking it in the whole. Yeah, it's just not easy. So just making a little cluster here, and thank you, Sue, for the gold. I watched Sue use the gold leaf a couple of times. And I thought, oh, I've got some of that. I love what she's doing. So, of course, then there is the point where the obsession for gold came, and it's still going strong. So anyway, I went out and I looked and hunted everywhere, and I couldn't find where I put it. And I've got quite a few jars of that the foil, it's bits. It's torn up. It's not in sheets like this. Foiling. Oh, I can't think of the name of it. Sorry. And I took it out of the little jars that it was in, and I put it in like this little plastic tub that you can see there. They fit into one big, like into a carry case. And I looked everywhere trying to find this gold leaf so I could have a go at it. And Sue explained to me that we need the, like the glue that goes with it. So I thought, oh, well, it must have gone, and I'll get some more. So when I was in getting my tracing paper book, I got a little packet of this along with the glue. And you guess where the original was? It was in that case where I put all the other foiling pieces. And I didn't look there. And the only reason I realised it was there is because I opened the case up to get an empty little individual tub to put the new stuff in, and there you go, it was there all the time. Yeah, I'm not too bad as far as that goes, but sometimes I just miss things. Like I said, this all come from Rachel's weekly challenges. I realised because I got sick, and then I had hospital week and blah blah blah. We all have had issues, and I was doing stuff, but it was just basically playing with scraps, doing a bit of collage, just sitting in here doing something, because I said many times, Graham and I don't do bored or sitting very well. So I'd done this before I got sick, and then it just had to wait, and then I cancelled it all, and then I had to start again, and so forth and so on. So I'm pitifully behind in the weekly challenges, but it doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to do them. It's just I'm just obviously marching to the beat of a different drum, as I say, and I'm happy. I'm in my own little world doing what I'm doing, and I respect, but I would like to say that I respect the work, respect Rachel for everything that she's been doing. So it helps us if we're in a little bit of a creative slump. We can't think what we want to do, but we'd like to do something. Well, these sorts of weekly challenges does help. So I'm cracking on here with my little collage. And like I said, once again, all this can be used for your projects whenever you want to use it. I'm just getting all the making it a bit raggedy, which is very interesting. It's like a full circle I think I've come. It wasn't that long ago where I wouldn't have been able to cope with that, and I probably would have put a little hem around it. But fortunately, I'm learning to loosen up a little bit, and I'm not doing too bad at it. Every now and again, I do struggle with perfectionism, and it can be a little bit of it intrigues me how Graham and I get on so well together. We're both of us drive ourselves and each other insane with an issue of if it's not perfect, you just have to start again. And there you have it. I think I've just telling you stuff that you all know. I guess it hasn't been terribly exciting in our house. Although the last time, we went to the theatre last week and we saw Moulin Rouge. Well, we've seen a lot. Pretty much every musical that QPAC have put on for the last 8 years. and Moulin Rouge. Like Hamilton was brilliant. It was really, really clever, and I'm not going to say this to denigrate any other musical. I think the only musical that we had issue with was the Book of Mormon, and that was about content. The actors did a fantastic job. The music was great. The sets, everybody did a great job, but the dialogue went a little bit too far for Graham and I. But that had nothing to do with the production. That was just Graham and I and our feelings. So apart from that, we've never had a bad thought or a bad word to say against the musicals. But Moulin Rouge last week just raised the bar, people. The production, the music, the costumes, it was just an outstanding performance. It's quite sad. I found it sad. It's like they didn't get my memo. I'm only interested in happy endings these days. There's enough sadness in real time. We don't we don't need it in our theatre. But anyway, it is the story, and it was just amazing. It just amazing. That's all I can keep saying, is I don't know what else to say about it. If you get the opportunity to, go. So when Amelia and Mummy went over to France for a 3-day girls trip to Paris, I think they've now decided that that's going to be a yearly thing. They went last year, I think, or one. Gosh, surely it wasn't last year. But they pop across to Paris. And they thought, oh, well, because, like when they go to France, they've got to go, like, it's France, so it's got to be all about France. Like, she wanted to have French fries because she was in Paris, and she wanted me to make her a beret, so I made her a beret. She's a card, and I made Ted. She takes a teddy everywhere she goes, so I made Ted a beret. So Amy thought, she might we might go to Moulin Rouge, and we'll have a look, because the original theatre, the Moulin Rouge, has cleaned it up so that children can go. Because they figured out that, rich parents with kids, why put an over 18 rating on it when we're missing out on half the possible ticket sales? So they thought, well, we'll go to Moulin Rouge, and I think they do a meal for them and experience the whole, like the feel of it. And it worked out, by the time that they got their tickets and converted it to Australian money, it was like $1,000 for the two of them to see one show. So Amy thought, yeah, and I agree with it. That's just ridiculously high. I couldn't justify that. So she thought, oh, well, we'll have a look, because, a lot of theatres play Moulin Rouge because it's French, obviously. But they haven't cleaned it up. So there's not another theatre in France that she can take a almost 10-year-old to, because they're all rated 18 and above. But the Moulin Rouge is the original is the only ones that have cleaned it up so that it's got a PG rating. So they found something else as equally as fun to do. It's not like it was the only thing you could do. So I'm still working on my cluster here. Probably could have edited some of this out too, I'm sorry. But I'm getting near the end, and this voiceover seems to be working okay at the moment. And the dogs haven't got sick. I shouldn't have said that, should I? But I've had a remarkably quiet time to be able to do this. So I'm just not going to tempt fate and touch anything. So I'm sorry it's a bit long. but you'll be able to speed through it, although by the time you see this, you've probably already done it. And I like making clusters, and some people struggle with it. I tend to struggle with it at times. It slows me down. I'm very slow to do it. But the ones on these envelopes seem to flow for me. I just try not to overthink it. Have a look at what you're putting down, and if you like it, trust it. Just don't keep second guessing yourself. It's a cluster. It's going to look pretty, you know. You'd have to work hard to make it look horrendous, and yeah, just keep in mind it is just paper. It is just a cluster, and we have to stop taking it all so seriously. And yes, Sue, that was for my benefit. That was very much the old pot kettle thing happening there. But, you know, like I do know that that's what we've got to do, but it's a daily, the fight is real. The fight is real. So where are we up to? What are we doing now? Oh, look, more gold leaf. Oh, no, just wiping the pot. Very good. So I'm really pleased with that. And I actually like it because that piece of paper that I've used, you can see it's just a black outline of I guess, I don't know, book plate shape. And the cluster just fits right in the middle of it, which is probably why I did it that way now I come to think of it. And just sits in the middle there, and it looks really, really nice. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with the way the envelopes came up. And of course, a few of them weren't that thick. That's why I've put the washi tape on the fold. Now, that washi tape that I put on the fold, that can be reused as well. If you carefully just lift it, I'm quite sure that at least the top layer of the paper will come off. But you can just glue it and use it somewhere else. Just keep looking at what's there. Even this cluster, if you didn't want that green at the bottom there, you could either just gently pull it off or cut round it and mat it on something else, or just glue it down to the project that you want to use it on. So I'm just going to have a quick drink, and we're getting into the wrap up. I think I've just figured out a new thing. I forgot to fast forward and mute this end section. So I started talking, I've gone, oops, better change that. And the whole conversation wasn't matching what I was showing you. So I think I've just learnt something new. Anyway, we're at just about at the end of doing our collage packs with our envelopes, and I did say that it's such a good feeling, isn't it, when we clean up and we've got our project or projects all nicely wrapped up or sitting in baskets. Such a good feeling. Doesn't matter how much we enjoy doing things, it is nice to get to the end of a project. And if you knew how many half finished things I've got in this place, that is another story. You'll know why I find this so pleasing. So I think all I'm doing here is I'm going to be showing you each of the envelopes, just to look at them, as I only made one envelope on screen. So in the envelope there are 5 8x6 sheets of cardstock. 5 of them are cardstock. One of them is a manila folder cut down, and that one I've got my hand on there it's called Stone. I thought I got it from Officeworks, but every time I go somewhere I look for it now. It is really beautiful, and I just got it in a ream. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe Officeworks. So that's one done, sorted, and you can see just by there you can put the glue in, which is what I think my fingers is just showing, and then it sits out a little bit at the front, so you'd be able to put a ruler in behind it, or a pair of scissors in behind at the back there. And that's it. I just love the way these papers, papers that I thought would be unusable really have been just ideal for doing what I've done. And I think I'm saying along there, I've zigzagged across it with the sewing machine. I think I'm just saying the obvious about the clusters, and I think of the washi tape that I put on it, and that's another one of the longer packs. I think I'm just highlighting the finished product. You saw me putting everything into these. I think I'm just pointing them out now. So we'll just keep going. Now, one pack didn't necessarily suit one of the envelopes. It's all mix and match. It's random, and it's really lovely to know that you're using stuff and you've got things that are going to be used by somebody and loved. So I'm not sure what else I'm saying, to be perfectly honest with you. We're just stuffing our envelopes now with our beautiful collage packs. And as you can see, all these envelopes, everything can be reused into future projects, into collage, just whatever you want it to be. And there's not a real lot of difference in the sizing, because those sheets in there are, in the short ones, are 6 by 8. I measured it, so you can see that the envelope's quite a bit longer than what the pack actually is. Just gives you room for your glue, like I said. And you might have something of your own that you want to add in there. Just a little bit more wriggle room to play with. I don't know why I couldn't have moved the iPad over. I'm looking at that now going, why, Vic? Why have you got that? And I'm also sitting here wondering whether or not I've blown this entire voiceover because I mucked up on the last bit. So he's hoping that I know what I'm doing and I don't have to do take 10, take 12, take 5. I'm not sure what we're up to. But if you're listening to this, you know that I got it right and I didn't have to do the whole lot all over again. I certainly know how to talk, don't I? Until I get to a voiceover, that is. But at this stage, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching and supporting me. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you. My collage packs can be found in our shop, which will be linked to this video. And as always, keep safe, be well, be kind to yourself, and please be kind to the person that's standing next to you. We don't know what each other's journey is, and sometimes just a little bit of kindness goes a long, long way. So until next time, take care. Bye for now.